I'd like somebody from, does anybody have a veteran they'd like to honor by leading the pledge? Bill. All right, Bill. Kenny Hale will lead our prayer.
You bow, please. Our Father and our God, we can never thank you enough for all that many blessings you pour out upon us each and every day. We just ask that you please be with all the people out there at the fair this week. And we know you blessed them last week with the start of it with some of the shows and stuff, Lord. But we just ask that you keep everybody safe. We ask that you please be with all of our emergency personnel, whether it's police, fire, ambulance. Just put that protection around them, Lord. We ask that you please give us that wisdom and knowledge to do what's pleasing, not only in the taxpayers' eyes, but especially in yours. And help us to keep following that right path that's with you. We ask it all in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Yep. Well, welcome to our meeting. First item on our agenda this morning is we have the claims because we need to get them back to the office. We have the claims in front of you, gentlemen. Do we have any questions or any holds on this, Dan?
Don't believe so.
Do we have a motion on the claims?
Kenny Hill makes a motion that we approve the claims for last month in the amount of $1,231,995.71.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Brian Carter seconds.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. 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 Motion passes 3-0. I'll pass this for signatures now.
Why there's a delay, if anyone in the public would like to know what it's like to be married to an elected official, my wife's looking at new furniture, and I said, I just don't think it's in the budget, and she reminded me that just last week I spent $1,231,995, and I should probably just mind my own business.
Glad we have a reminder of that.
Yes.
Kind of shocking. All right, well, I have another story, but I'll save that.
Yeah.
There you go, sir. Okay, next item on the, first item on our agenda besides the claims is a PUD amendment. For those who are, most of you probably aware of a PUD is a planned unit development. It comes out of our planning department, and we have Laura from our planning department and Mr. Myers concerning this.
Good morning.
Morning.
I know I provided you with a lot of handouts in your packet, so I won't belabor the point, but the Plan Commission did have a public hearing on July 12th to hear this amendment and forwarded to you a favorable recommendation on behalf of the PUD amendment. And as you mentioned, Adam Mears is here representing the petitioner and would be happy to answer any additional questions you might have.
It was a unanimous acceptance from the board.
Yes, sir.
Do you gentlemen have any questions about it? Thank you for being here, Mr. Mears. And I'll entertain a motion.
Kenny Hill makes a motion we approve the Enclave Apartment LLC Cedar Run Limited being the owner for the Pud Amendment presented.
Brian Collier seconds.
We have a motion and a second for the PUD amendment for, yeah, I'll just let Kenny explain that one, not explain it, but for the enclave at Harton Crossing. All in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0, and thank you, Mr. Mears, for being here, and thank you, Laura, for the work in your department. Next item on the agenda is Josh has explained the Zoll equipment lease.
We'll skip past that one, Commissioner. Zoll equipment lease wasn't quite ready. Donnie wasn't happy with
Okay,
the
right,
initial
that was
documentation he got.
not quite ready.
So hopefully that'll be ready for your next meeting.
What about the next one? I'm sorry, I saw that, I put that they weren't quite ready. Through the HR department, the amendment
Yep.
on the Cronus.
Just real briefly, Dree's handling this. She's unable to be here today, but this is an agreement to push out the billing date until October. I believe that covers what's in this documentation here, is to push that billing date out as they're working through the implementation phase.
I think we probably need a motion to go ahead and prove that, to move it to October. Do we have a motion for such?
Brian Collier makes a motion that we accept the amendment to move the billing date out to October.
Second.
We have a motion to move the action on that until October. I think it's October 9th, but all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. We have an item on the agenda, Josh, about the UKG agreement. Is that part of that too?
Basically, they're just, effective date's they've switched it to where it's gonna be November 18th to, that's 2020.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I believe, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, because you and Dree corresponded back and forth about this agreement. You recommended there need to be some initials from both parties on the updated agreement itself.
Okay.
Yeah, I
It's
think
just on here
what I
is two
thought
items.
was just us, and I think, in order to make things clear, if there's some dispute arose, they need to as well, but other than that, it's fine.
Billing start date starts October 9th of 2021, it looks like what the new billing date's gonna be.
All right. We have a motion on, sorry.
There's two parts of this. There's telestat, and then there's the,
Should we just table? So the UKG was to extend?
extended the billing.
Okay. But we need an action on, or need both? Okay. Okay. We already did the first one, we did this, all right. Well, there's a kind of a two-part. Do we have a motion on the second one?
What, Dan?
I thought your motion was involved the extending the payment date.
Correct.
That's the UKG part.
Right. The second part,
The Corona's telestaff is what, like dispatch and EMS? I don't know. That's their scheduling
Correct.
software.
The telestaff is scheduling.
Right.
UKG is, we're still working out some of the programs and trying to get everybody
Initially, they were requiring a payment of July.
correct
Now they're agreeing to extend it to October.
as we try to get
Lao.
Lao, see if we can get this to work.
Right.
Correct. And so I'm all for extending until I know the product that I'm getting works.
Right, yeah.
Now, on the,
That happens.
yeah.
Hasn't happened anywhere in Indiana yet.
Really?
Really? I mean, their product will not interface with any of the financial and payroll systems that are being used in majority of the counties.
Okay. So we need to extend it?
I stand by my motion to extend payment.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have a second on that motion?
Second.
All in favor of that motion to extend the payment?
Aye.
Say aye. Aye. That motion passes 3-0. Are we good?
Oh, okay, okay. We're good.
We're good. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a take-home vehicle application. I'm not sure why that's, well, I know why it's here, but well, let's go ahead and take care of it. This is a take-home vehicle for the interim acting supervisor of the Highway Department, Charles Wilson. And do we have any questions on that? Take a motion to approve that application.
So moved.
All
Second.
All right, and all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Scotty, from our 911 dispatch, has an SOP change and update.
Good morning.
Good morning, Scott.
Not a huge change. The National Weather Service has added a new classification for severe thunderstorms. They're classifying them differently, and the highest classification of a severe thunderstorm is called a destructive classification, and it will come across us as that. A destructive thunderstorm, severe thunderstorm, is classified as having either or winds of 80 miles an hour or greater, or hail that's 2.75 inches in diameter or greater, which is baseball size, roughly baseball size hail. Anytime one of those two events or both of those events occur in a severe thunderstorm, they're going to activate what they call the EAS, Emergency Activation System, or alerting system, sorry. And that will also trigger us to activate the tornado sirens. We generally just tack on tornado warnings, but the risk for life and damage is so great with that type of storm that we probably would just follow the suit that the National Weather Service is recommending.
Any questions about that change? It's the highlighted section on page 1 of the outdoor warning for our sirens. I think that would have made a difference in the way you're going to be doing business, and people need to be aware. I think, Keith, that we're changing it from just tornado but to the severe, which makes sense. I'm glad they're making that change. And it'll also be regionalized, as you mentioned, or I guess you say sections, so we don't get the...
Eventually, we're moving to a geo-based or geo-fenced warnings that will activate just in a polygon of the affected area.
Which is, probably keeps the warning sirens from firing off if you get an event in Paragon and not in Mooresville, for
Right,
example.
yeah.
So that's
Yeah, the
good.
storms in the northern part of the county, and, it's going to affect Monrovia, Mooresville, Brooklyn. Those sirens, or Waverly, will be activating. But, Morgantown, Martinsville, Eminence probably will not. Just.
Looks like a good change and an improvement on the current. And then, do we have any other questions from the board? I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we adopt the updated SOP manual, section 812, as revised.
Motion's been made and seconded for the change in the SOP. Any further questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, aye. The motion passes 3-0, and thank you, Scott, for
Thank you. I think maybe
updating us and
I'm
keeping
the
the,
next thing on your agenda too, but I'm not sure.
I believe you are.
Yep.
Yes, it's, what we're asking to do is update personnel policy and have to do this for the council also. EMS already has a somewhat similar situation where they have kind of a lateral hiring policy, which they have pay bands, so depending on your years of experience as a paramedic or an EMT would put you in a different pay bracket starting out. Basically, that's what we're wanting to do in the dispatch arena because of the number of training and certifications that people have to have or their experience in public safety to entice the best candidates to apply for our positions. We would like to start them in a different, instead of just starting out at the very, very bottom, they would start out given some credit to their experience or training that they're bringing to our agency.
Josh?
So there's two things. The first part of this ordinance is directly related to dispatch. And I do want to highlight that it gives Scott, the director, the discretion. So if somebody comes and says, hey, I was a dispatcher 20 years ago, that's probably not relevant. So it's not a requirement that they be credited that amount. It just gives maximums. that
Has to
they
be,
can credit.
there's a second step,
Yeah.
basically, through it.
And the other thing is a general lateral policy, which, in coordinating with Kathy and Dan's office, we're already doing. We just hadn't had formalized, and last year the council had asked that we would do that. So there's two parts to this ordinance, and they're both up for your guys' approval or not. And then if you approve it, it'll go to the council this evening.
Do you gentlemen have any questions about this ordinance?
I did, and Josh answered them all over the weekend, so thank you, Josh.
Yes, thank you, Josh. We got it. Do we have a motion on that ordinance then?
Kenny Hill makes a motion to approve the ordinance to amend the Morgan County personnel policy for the lateral transfer as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Do we have any further questions on that, gentlemen? All in favor of the motion, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Scott, and
Thank
thank
you
you,
very much.
Josh, for making sure everything flies together.
Okay, thank
Looks
you
like
very
it's
much.
going to be a good direction to go.
Yeah, he's definitely going to help us in our hiring. We have a position open right now, and that will change the whole, basically the whole complexion of the candidates that we'll be looking at.
That's good. Thank you for getting that all squared away. I think that we've covered everything in new business. Let me look. I believe we have. We're in old business. American Water Property, Jim, do you have any updates on that?
Well, what's been put on your desk this morning, temporary easement and grant of access to them. We had taken some time to determine, given the small size of the property, whether we could proceed without the formalities of an appraisal, but it's just enough that we cannot, so that's underway. But this, in the meantime, would give them, give a record of them having access to proceed with their project, as well as them being responsible for liability and so forth, and with the intention that it ultimately likely be sold.
You know, that sliver of ground's taken more daggone time than a little bit. I'm glad we're getting it finally resolved. This temporary easement and grant is the step we have to go through before we go ahead and get the thing wrapped up.
It'd take a little bit of time to do the appraisal process and complete that, so I think it's advisable just to have something of record, probably for us and for them.
Yeah, and are they paying for the appraisal? Is that part of, I didn't go through the whole thing here, but, okay. So this is, I guess, is a step to get to the conclusion. Is that the way I read it?
Correct.
Okay. For the audience behalf, it was presented, I expect several months ago, on a development project that they were doing up in Mooresville, and they needed a little sliver of ground, and it's been a little interesting, but we're getting her wrapped up. So, Jim, the temporary easement and grant access, we need to approve that. Go ahead and proceed. Okay. Do we have any questions from the board on this? I'll take a motion.
Brian Kyer makes a motion that we approve the temporary easement and grant of access.
Second.
And motion's been made and second to provide temporary easement, grant access in the property in question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Fleet management solutions, we're putting some stuff together with that. Josh.
Okay, I told you I would have some stuff for you today, and we finally do. So you have 3 exhibits. You won't sign any of these things. Enterprise does everything by DocuSign, but I wanted all the documents in front of you. The first is just the Telematics servicing agreement. That's for them to provide the services of geotabs through us. The second is the source well pricing. We would be looking at, on page 2, there's the Pro Plus plan, self-install, and it would be $18.87 per month per device. And then the third item, I just gave you the cover page for the sake of brevity of their source well contract. So we all know that they did go through the source well process and they do have a valid contract. When they send everything to us by DocuSign, I've asked that they include all these as exhibits so that in the future, if we get audited, we don't have to guess where all these attachments might be. But that will be forthcoming. Don, I'll have you be the signatory since you've done some DocuSign things in the past. The only other thing we'll have to work through with them is on a vehicle-by-vehicle basis, working through which wire harness needs to be associated with that product. But beyond that, we finally have the documents we need to get moving with all that. And because of microchips, from the time we DocuSign it, we're still a couple months out. There's a big backlog.
Okay. So this ought to be, you say a couple months, we ought to be getting this stuff by October, be enrolling?
Yep.
That fit with them and us?
Yeah, I mean, by the time we place the order,
Right.
it will be a few months still.
Okay. Have any questions, gentlemen, about the source well and the contract on the emergency reporting? Okay, I'll take, I'm sorry, the fleet management wasn't, jumped ahead. All in favor of, I entertain a motion to,
Are these figures similar to, I'm not seeing a total, which you just said is going to be based upon the vehicles, but it's similar to what we
Yeah, it's.
have been discussing this whole time.
Yeah,
with
that was in last meeting's packet. and
Right. Okay.
That part's still. the
That's
same.
all. I'm just making sure that when we got this, they didn't throw any
Yep.
financial curveballs.
Nope,
Okay.
it's,
thank you for checking on that.
Yep.
My
Brian
money
Kyer
man.
makes the motion that we approve the fleet management solution as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the fleet management solution. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
It is passed 3-0, and thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh, for staying up on that.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
it is very necessary. Scott, you had some business with the fire departments. We want to make sure everything's copacetic there.
I've touched base with everybody, either in person or by phone. Only had 2 fire departments that had any really questions about it. One was Green and one was Monroe. I haven't heard anything back from them. I've sent them all the information they request. They understood that we're basically just trading services for them. We're going to take one thing away, which they're going to become responsible for, and that we're going to replace it with some other things like a countywide notification system, the locution system, of course, and some technology things as far as switches and monitoring those switches to give them a better more secure access to our systems.
So this sort of basically cleans up, we're approving what
Yes.
what you've offered,
Yeah, if you so
and they're all in
decide.
favor of it, and so it looks like
Yeah.
it keeps the water clear.
Yeah, I mean, the reporting side of things is, really doesn't have anything to do with dispatch. We're still gonna pump information into their reporting system as far as locations, times, their apparatus times, their run times, all that stuff's gonna still flow to them. We're gonna take care of that.
Okay.
But just the reporting side of things, where they make the reports to the State Fire Marshal's office and such, that will become their thing.
Do you gentlemen have any questions about the agreement that they're making between the changes that are going to be involved in policy with the fire departments and the
So they all
funding?
know that they're about to get hit with
Yeah.
the emergency
I
reporting.
gave them-
And then a question was proposed to me, and I'd like to present it to the public. And we live in a unique county, and maybe it's not unique, but the fire service is unique in and of the fact that the northern end of the county can, when they need additional help, they can call on Decatur, Plainfield, White River, all career staffed 24/7. How's locution on a work in the southern end of the county? Because like on a box set, if I hear that I'm gonna go assist from Martinsville to go assist the, say, Paragon, it may send out 2 of Paragon's engines, but there's no one there.
Right. It will,
So what good, I mean,
it's not no different than what we're
Doing now?
Doing now. I mean, it just automates the process, but we still, with in the volunteer environment, we still have to do a lot of follow-up to make sure that people are responding, that we're,
so our emergency reporting's gonna change the color code, so you may send 17-1, but engine 17-1, but I'll know when they clock in and 17-1's actually coming.
right.
Okay.
That's kind of the thing. We're hoping with this new, if we can get on with this new notification system like Active 911, Dispatch, Rover, whatever the fire departments choose, it's going to be up to them. But some of those have two-way communications capabilities. So then they can hit on their phone, say, "Hi, I'm on the way." So that would let the others know that are on that run, "Hey, somebody's coming from that agency." So that's kind of our hope to kind of clear some of the stuff up.
I just know we have a situation that we're gonna address in a week or so with fire and EMS, and I know no matter what I would bribe him with, and I use that word carefully, bribe, but Kenny Hill is not gonna pick up countywide fire ever again. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, it's a unique situation.
But I mean, the volunteer fire departments are really, really, really struggling, and I have the utmost respect
Right.
for them, but it's just almost cost prohibitive by the time you get $2,000 worth of gear and the liability and asking a volunteer to go through all the certifications for
Yes.
liability purposes. And so it's been brought back to my attention, probably because I'm a fireman, that we need to at least be looking at that. And I know it's very unpopular when you get into these stations because of they have weddings there, they have funerals there, they have birthday parties there. I mean, it is a way of life. And if they think that an outside force such as the county is on a dictate to them, it becomes completely combative immediately. But I just know, there's some issues that we are going to be forced to address, and then that's going to go back to the council, and it's just something that I think with your help through dispatch, I think we'll all have to look at that, whether it's feasible or not, or even able to get around the people involved that would have to make the decisions. I don't know.
We work in the environment we have for as long as I've been around. I mean, we've always had a few career departments and a few volunteer, and the majority were volunteer. And we've learned to adapt and found things that work and found things that haven't worked. We've tried different things. I would, I'm just speaking personally for myself, would it make more sense if everything was all career and when we dropped tones, we knew that certain pieces of apparatus were gonna roll and certain people were gonna roll? Great, yes, wonderful. I think that's good for the public. But I understand the other side of the coin too, and, you know, we've got a system and it works. We always are looking at ways to make it work better, and I think locution's gonna be a big help as far
Okay.
as that goes.
I just know it was brought to my attention. I said, I'll go straight to the source, and a lot of times I think people don't think I do it, so I did it in a public meeting so that they know I went straight to the source. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I thank Commissioner Collier that we have a boots on the ground fireman on the board. I think that adds a little depth that is necessary, especially now with the changing and the evolving of the fire departments and the issues that we're going to be confronting here in the next couple of months
Yeah, we're
or
definitely gonna have
weeks.
some growing pains. I mean, there's,
Yes, it is.
Keith, if you do anything on countywide fire, just make sure you use Commissioner Hell's name, not mine.
Not yet. You're evil.
One thing I must say on that, going countywide fire ambulance back then would have been the way to go. I understand the hesitancy, but taking care of our own needs all in-house and getting rid of the for-profit ambulance companies that kept coming in cherry picking and going out and not providing the service we needed. That was why we did that, and I still think it was a smart thing to do, but I did take some heat over it, and so did other commissioners.
Yes, sir. We did. Thank you, Scott. I think did we get ahead and take care of the approval of the document? The conversation went a direction I wasn't following just exactly. Are you comfortable with the amendment? We need to approve that amendment. Did we get that done? That you had, that you sent out with the firemen?
I have not
I
sent it
don't
out.
think
I
it
was waiting for you guys to say it's okay to go ahead and send it out. And, I mean, they've already been pretty much all put on notice, but I'll
Okay.
follow up formally with something in writing, so.
So we did approve that.
Does that have to be in the form of a motion? I mean, it's just, I don't think so.
Don't need it.
You, go for it.
Okay. Everybody's good with that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Approve it. Appreciate it. Thank you. I don't see any other items on the old business.
Solid waste.
Oh, yeah, solid waste. I do see that, and I forgot, I've got a note on there. I'm sorry, Josh, you want to explain where we're going?
We've talked about this briefly. You know,
Yes.
Dan brought to our attention that there is a way to reorganize that and bring it in as a department of the commissioners, and essentially, we treat it as such already. And talking with you, Don, and I think maybe you, Kenny,
Right.
currently, you know, we would have to revamp a plan. I don't know that that's our highest priority for this year. And so I guess my recommendation to you all, unless you want to proceed more quickly, is let's table this until next year while we take care of some of our higher priorities. Let it operate as such and then come back and revisit this.
Seems to be I agreed with that proposal. We've got so much on our plate right now, we don't need to put more mashed potatoes on there. We can address this next year, I would think, would be the appropriate time to start working on that.
Timeline-wise, you can't accomplish it by the end of the year anyway. There's a timeline that you have to follow that, for the number of months escapes me right now, but
I thought it was 6 or somewhere in that frame.
6 or more months.
So we're
in August, so we can't make it by the end
Can't
of the
pull
year.
that off, all right.
Yeah, but if this is what the commissioners want to do, you know, you need to be thinking about it late winter and early spring to start the process.
From an auditor's point of view, why would we not go in this direction?
Oh, I think you should go
I
in
think
this
we should do,
direction.
yeah.
Yeah. So just make sure it gets back on the
Oh, I mean,
appropriate timeframe, because
it puts the commissioners directly in management control of the solid waste management, as opposed to now that
Board.
it goes through the board and then to the commissioners, then to the council. It removes one,
Yeah.
by reorganizing, it'll remove one layer of
bureaucracy.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll table it, action on this until appropriate time, which would be probably the early part of 2022. Or 2022, good grief. Thank you, Josh. All right, do we have a need for a motion on that, or just a motion to table would be probably appropriate?
Kenny Hill makes a motion, we go ahead and table this solid waste district discussion till late in the year or early 2022.
Second.
All right, motion's been made to table this motion or table the discussion till early 2022 or late this year, so we can get the timing correct. All in favor of the motion, say aye, or motion to table, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Okay. I think we're good for the old business. We have some other business here to attend to. First, we have the minutes from the July 19th. If you have had a chance to preview those, or you have any changes or corrections, I'll entertain a motion for the minutes from July 19th.
So moved.
Motion's been made to approve the minutes of 7/19/2021. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor of the minutes approval, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, the motion passes 3-0. We have, the next item is, on the agenda is the 2020 meeting schedule. It's in your packet. It's been adjusted a little bit due to some holidays and so forth, but do you have any questions about the meeting schedule for 2022? I'll entertain a motion on that.
I haven't checked any of it. I mean, it's fluid, so we'll adopt, I'll make a motion to adopt it, but I may next month be crying that I'm out of the country on one of these
Okay.
days, so. But I'll make that motion.
Yeah,
I
that's-
am disappointed that we're not open on July 4th, that Monday. Aston.
Second that motion.
There's been a motion made to approve the meeting schedule for 2022 with a comment about July the 4th. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. We have a couple of little more items. Josh, we have some situations with the courthouse.
At this point, I'm sure you all know that 2 Saturdays ago, we had a leak in one of our supply lines above the offices of Judge Williams' court. They've been great to work with and very gracious, so I want to thank them for that. But I just wanted to give you some updates on repairs to date. We don't have final figures in, but I can give you order of magnitude. So far, we've spent around $2,000 on getting computers replaced that got flooded out. Thankfully, our copier that we put in from Rico last year was okay. And maintenance, the cleanup was around $25,000. Perfection Group has spent around $10,000 to problem solve everything. We did find out the variable drive on, I don't even know exactly what it is, I think part of the fan system has gone out. That was what caused the system. It was a supply line, but it was a part of our loop, and it's directly fed from potable water. And so that overheated because the variable drive went out, caused it to spring a leak, and then just kept flooding to keep the loop full. And then in terms of furniture, we've spent around $3,000. So to date, we estimate it's going to be around $40,000. There'll still be some more things come in, I'm sure. Our deductible for insurance is $50, so we brought in Morgan Insurance as soon as it happened. If we cross that threshold, we'll go ahead and get the claim filed, but until then, we're just documenting everything.
Thank you.
And I do want to thank IT and maintenance for jumping on this immediately. Michelle with maintenance was there Saturday night, helping oversee, make sure more restoration got moving. So everybody's just been pitching in, and that's been helpful.
Well, I appreciate, I didn't get the phone call, well, I think I might have had a text late, but you'd already got on top of it, and I think Commissioner Collier was over there turning off the water, And again, it's good to have boots on the ground folks taking care of the issue. Also kind of points to, I was curious about one thing in this that you mentioned is the Perfections. What was Perfections' role in this?
Well, it was part of the cooling system that went out. And so they've been trying to, one, figure out everything that got turned on and off and diagnose the problem, what was the source of failure. And so they've been, a couple things. The first day, they couldn't just bring all the equipment on, so everything had to be monitored to figure out what's the temperature in the cooling system, keep it below a certain threshold, and slowly bring things on. It was complicated by the fact that we had a jury trial that day, so we had additional.
And that was like a $10,000 approximately cost
Yeah, we think so far. It's going to be
from Perfection.
yeah, part of repairing the drive and then being on site for, I think, 3 or 4 full days.
Okay. Sometime I want to review their contract with us and what they're, what we expect and what we get. I just want to look at it personally. I think we ought to look it over.
Yep.
Just to
When you
see.
find the contract, let me know.
Not a contract? Well, we'll look into that.
Yeah, we have been.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you for the report there, and I appreciate seeing the text afterwards and the pictures afterwards.
We have a video we can put
And
on our
taking your
Facebook page.
Sunday pays triple time, is that what we hear? No, it was unfortunate, but it was resolved extremely well. The warning system, I think, helped out a little bit. That it wasn't, it could have been a lot worse, let's say that. Could have been floating dust and such. But,
I think we decided we don't want a county swimming pool after this, so we
Yeah.
don't have to worry about that. I do have one other update on the Ready Grant, Don, if you want me to cover
yes,
that.
well, let's hear about the Ready Grant. We had a meeting yesterday, or Friday, I mean.
Friday, so there was most today meeting up in Danville. So, we submitted our application with Johnson County. The IEDC came back to the group that we were initially looking at with Hendricks County, which included Putnam, Boone, Hendricks, Montgomery. And IEDC said, hey, for you all to really be competitive, you need to join together and quit trying to do this apart. They also asked Marion, Madison, and Hamilton to come together with us. That group said, no, we're not going to. We said, we'll reach out. If they want to work with us, we will. They said they were happy to do so. So we have put our applications together in order to essentially work with the IEDC since they're the ones giving out the grant money. City of Martinsville was there with us, Mayor Costin, Commissioner Hale, our EDC director, Mike Dillinger. I think Mooresville was represented there with us, and I believe Monrovia was unable to be there, but they're part of our team.
Dustin Stanley was there, and Johnson County had Bargersville there as well as gentlemen from the hospital over at Johnson Memorial.
And quite frankly, we weren't sure what to expect, but it was a great meeting. Everybody seems interested genuinely in working together and figuring out, even beyond this grant, how we might be able to symbiotically work together. We'll see where it goes. When the dollars show up at our door, we'll know if it was effective or not. But for now, we're going down this route to see if it can be fruitful for us.
Well, there's anything that, we're involved in a couple regional, like Central Indiana Regional Transit, but regionalism has some really pluses, and I'm glad to see that the meeting was successful and that we got a lot of good folks at the table that are going to make it work. Thank you, Josh. We have any other further business? I don't see any more items on the agenda. Do we have any business from you folks? Or the audience? We have for the good of the county at this time. Does anybody have for the good of the county before we adjourn? I would just simply say get out to the fair. It's a busy time. We've already had bike rodeos, and we've had hog shows, and the cattle show is going on in about 2 hours. And it's good, I tried to get in line last night to get my annual ribeye sandwich and an ear of corn, and the line was longer than this room, and so I had to get back. I also saw somebody in the back, Mr. Kai was back there maintaining control, and appreciate your service to the.
Probably why the line was so long.
Well, it's probably why I ended up getting a hamburger at the pork producer, so. But thank you all, and I hope you get a chance to visit our fair if you haven't been there. It's a good event. Old Settlers is coming up next week in Mooresville. Come up and visit with the northern part of the county, and we'll look forward to seeing some folks there. Any further items for the business of the county at this time? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
Made and adjourned to adjourn. Made second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned, and I thank you for all being here.